Misery Meat, a Dream SMP fanfiction, written by Returns Null, narrated by Stormy Scribe. Tommy tries to keep his head down at new foster homes, the operative word there being tries. Unfortunately, in all his 15 years of being alive, he has not ever actually figured out how to do that for very long. It doesn't help that he came into this emergency placement from the kind of situation that makes fosters wary. Today, only 2 days into staying in this home, he's failed a math test, and he really doesn't want to talk about that. Luckily, he knows where his foster parents are. He can hear them shuffling around in the kitchen when he comes in. He's quick as he walks past the kitchen, only glancing in out of the corner of his eye. Wait. Back up. He takes 2 steps back, stands in the doorway to the kitchen. That is not one of his foster parents. The guy in the kitchen is big, really big, with long pink hair braided down his back. He looks just as surprised to see Tommy as Tommy is to see him. There aren't supposed to be kids here, Big Guy says. Yeah, well, you're not fucking supposed to be here either, Tommy snaps. Unless. Fuck, is this guy supposed to be here? Was Tommy supposed to know that this guy was gonna be here? I'm a contractor, the guy says, making Tommy feel like a fucking idiot. These people aren't supposed to have kids. They foster, Tommy says, glancing behind the guy. He should have guessed that he was a contractor, given that he's wearing one of those white waxy coverall suits, and he's got a plastic tarp on the ground, red paint pooling in one of its wrinkles. Ah, says Big Guy. Tommy keeps looking at the paint. It seems clumpy. That's kind of shit paint, isn't it? He asks. He glances around for painting supplies, or any indication of which wall he's even getting painted, but that. That's a hand, sticking out from behind the stupid island counter. A hand. It's pale, slightly wrinkled and veiny, with long, thin fingers and perfectly manicured nails painted in a delicate lilac. Tommy doesn't know his foster parents very well yet, but he's got a good enough memory to recognize his foster mom's hands, even if this one is far, far too pale. Tommy's head snaps up to the big guy and, oh fuck. He doesn't get the chance to step back. Guy is right in front of him, hands around Tommy's neck, and he can't breathe. He can't fucking. His hands come up to grip the massive rough ones around his neck. His nails scratch at his latex gloves. He's. Fuck, is he dying? Is he gonna fucking die in an overly fancy kitchen of new foster parents at the hands of a random killer? He stumbles back, but the guy just follows him until he hits the wall. Weirdly enough, it doesn't hurt when his head bangs against it. Like every part of his body is numb except for his neck. He tries to swallow, but obviously he can't fucking do that. His knees give out, and suddenly this fucking guy is the only thing that's keeping him upright as his vision starts to fuzz along the edges. That thing he said earlier about his head not hurting? He takes it back. He's pretty sure his head is trying to explode while his chest tries to implode. His ears ring and it hurts. He can't say where or why, but he does know that it's bad. He also knows that it's fucking taking forever. His bleary mind kind of wishes that his killer had chosen a quicker way to kill people. Like, fuck, if the guy's gonna break into people's houses and kill them, he should at least pick a quick way to do it. Not that Tommy can give much input. He guesses that it doesn't really matter anyways. He'll be dead soon. He's kind of okay with that, though. He thought he was getting over his whole maybe I would feel better dead thing. But nope, here he is again. Maybe it's just a being murdered thing. He's lightheaded when he wakes up, his head aching, his face smushed into a throw pillow. His neck twinges in pain when he moves, and his throat is sore. So this is going to be one of those foster homes. He shifts only to find his wrists tied, his ankles too, and any movement to one sets tugs on the other. Is he? Is he fucking hogtied? Reverse hogtied? His hands aren't all the way to his feet, so there must be some length of rope between them. They're at least tied in front of him. His mouth is uncomfortable too. A gag? He can feel the rope digging into the corners of his mouth, pressing down on his tongue, so yeah, probably a gag. Damn, he's had some interesting punishments at foster homes, but this is definitely a new one. Seems like a big escalation since he literally just got here a couple days ago. But alright. He can hear movements in the kitchen. Someone shuffling things around. Weird wet squelching sounds. A drill? Is that a drill? Why the fuck is he hearing a drill? He wonders if he could get the rope off. It's already chafing on his wrists and ankles, the rough rope giving him a nice approximation of rug burn. But he doubts that would make his punishment any lighter. Would probably make it worse. What did he even do? Something about a math test, maybe? Yeah, he feels like he remembers that. He had a math test he failed. He tried to sneak up to his room, and his foster parents were in the kitchen, and it wasn't his foster parents in the kitchen. He jerks to attention suddenly, falling off the couch like a sack of potatoes. His body thuds to the floor painfully, hands bound in front of him doing little for him as he hits the hardwood floor. The drilling in the kitchen stops. Tommy holds his breath, listening to the "he must be some kind of murderer" move around until he comes stomping down the hall to Tommy. Tommy fucking freezes, like a deer in the headlights as Guy's boots come into focus in front of him. They're covered with plastic wrapping, like he's trying not to track anything inside, or around the house. He remembers the blood pooling in the tarp. Guy bends down and Tommy can't hold in the muffled little shriek as he reaches for him, his body squirming against the arms lifting him. He almost thrashes out of the grip, but he's simply placed back down on the couch. Gloved fingers run through his hair, tacky latex tugging at it uncomfortably. Tommy's heart won't stop jackrabbiting in his chest. "You're okay," Guy says. "I'm not gonna hurt you." Tommy laughs dryly behind the gag, although it comes out more like a sob. "It's true. I don't hurt kids," Guy says. "Just let me finish up with these two, and I'll figure something out." He gives Tommy one last head pat and leaves. Tommy listens as the drilling starts up again, then more shuffling, the sound of plastic being folded, a zipper closing, more plastic folding, water running, more shuffling. What is Tommy supposed to do in this situation? Tubbo would know. Tubbo loves all that true crime shit, but no matter how much Tommy racks his brain, he can't think of a single time Tubbo has given advice on how to get out of one of these situations. He can think of a lot of people who died, though. How comforting. He watches the minutes tick by on the TV clock, the stupid Chromecast flashing through the same screensavers over and over as the sun sets through the fancy high windows his foster parents have. Had? If they're dead, then it's past tense, right? But he only saw his foster mom's hand, so maybe his foster dad is fine? In the living room. Tommy watches the light creep up the wall slowly until it's thoroughly dark, leaving Tommy sitting in the glow of the always-on TV screen. All the while, the murderer in the kitchen cleans up his crime scene. He doesn't dare move, not wanting the asshole murderer to remember that he's here. Eventually, he hears the guy hoist something up, walk past the living room, and open the garage door. Then the door closes and Tommy is alone. Is this it? Is Guy just gonna leave him here hogtied until someone comes looking? That would be ideal, considering the other options here. But then the garage door opens again, and Guy walks into the kitchen again, grabbing another load of stuff and going back out to the garage. Maybe if Tommy is quiet enough, the guy will forget that he's here? He hopes so. The garage door has a shitty old seal that makes a loud cracking sound whenever someone opens it, so it's easy to tell when someone comes back in. Tommy knows that it's probably the fucking Strangler again. It was too fast of a turnaround for it to be anyone else. His dumb, stupid heart still kind of hopes that it's his foster dad, safe and okay, coming in to tell him that everything is fine now. Guy shatters Tommy's hope by walking straight into the living room. He stripped out of his waxy coverall, but apparently he had another cloth one underneath it. Tommy isn't quite sure what that means, if anything. Guy sits on the fancy old coffee table that Tommy was told to never sit on, or put food or drinks on, and sighs deeply, taking a moment to close his eyes before opening them and focusing on Tommy. "I don't suppose I can trust you not to tell anyone about this?" he asks. Tommy nods frantically. He can trust him. Obviously he can trust Tommy. What does Tommy have to gain here? He's just some foster kid. No one is gonna believe him. He can't say any of this because of the gag, but Guy smiles at him in a way that makes Tommy thinks he gets the message. Yeah, I know, but unfortunately I can't trust you not to talk. He sighs again, before reaching out again. Tommy squeezes his eyes shut, prepared to be fucking strangled again, but nope. He yelps as the man hefts him up bridal style, fingers scrabbling for purchase in the man's coveralls, anything to not fall. Then he remembers who's holding him, and fuck, if he's about to die, he's not doing it clinging to his killer like a little bitch. He screams, loud as he can with the gag, right into the guy's ear, kicks two, and claws at the guy's face, aiming for the eye. Ah! The guy nearly drops him. Tommy's heels hit the ground and he doubles his squirming. He has no clue what he's gonna do if he can get the guy to drop him, but that's not gonna stop him from trying. Stop it! Stop it! The guy wraps an arm around Tommy's chest, holding him close. I don't want to hurt you. Tommy screams right in his ear again. Guy fucking growls back at him. Hands wrap around his throat again, and Tommy wiggles frantically to get them off, but only succeeds in knocking his own ass to the floor. Guy stays over him the whole time, even pressure on his windpipe preventing Tommy from taking a breath. Everything goes from moving way too fast to excruciatingly slow. His head lolls against the guy's way too fucking solid chest, and he scowls at the wall. There's something about having to feel his killer breathing while he gets strangled that feels particularly mean to Tommy. The thing Tommy can say about getting strangled twice is that knowing what to expect doesn't really make it better. Black descends on his vision again, and Tommy can only be glad he went down fighting. Except not, because he fucking wakes up again. He's still gagged, still hog-tied, but now he's laying across the back seat of a car, and his wrists are also tied to the fucking... Christ, what was that called? That part that keeps the car seat attached to the car? The track? Track sounds vaguely correct. Whatever. He's tied to the car seat in front of him and he can't even sit up. He's just forced to lay there and stare at the back of this guy's shitty, pleather upholstered seat in his shitty old SUV. Guy adjusts his rearview mirror so Tommy can see his eyes. He's probably doing it to see Tommy, but it has the side effect of Tommy being able to make eye contact while he glares, which is the important part. Sorry about, doing that again. You were just fighting and... yeah. He looks legitimately awkward. Like he really is sorry for strangling and kidnapping Tommy. Because that's what this is, right? Kidnapping? He's tied up in a moving car, and he's not sure what else it could be. Well, a murder, obviously, but he thinks it can still be called a kidnapping if he's taken now and killed later. The guy adjusts his grip on the steering wheel. He's not wearing gloves anymore, not worried about leaving evidence. That's probably not great. That means he doesn't think anyone's gonna find the body. Tommy blinks back tears. He's not gonna cry in front of the guy who's about to kill him. I'm Technoblade, by the way, the killer says. Which, like, fuck. One, that's a stupid fucking name, but more importantly, two, if Tommy wasn't sure if he was gonna die before, then he certainly is now. You can call me Techno. Tommy rolls his eyes, considering he can't call Techno anything with a gag in. Techno doesn't seem to care. We, have a bit of a drive to get to my place, so yeah, you can sleep if you want. I'm sure you're exhausted. Tommy is more terrified than exhausted, thanks, but he doesn't seem to think fucking Technoblade over there cares about that. He probably just wants Tommy to go to sleep so he can kill him more easily. Fuck that. Tommy is staying awake the whole way. He fixes his eyes on the car seat in front of him and swears to himself that he won't fall asleep. He starts to feel nauseous pretty quickly. Fuck, he hopes he doesn't get carsick on this journey, for both his and Techno's sake. Mostly for his sake, though. He can't imagine being sick with a gag as pleasant. He later learns that it's not. Techno even has to pull the car over and take the gag out so Tommy doesn't choke. Apparently he's the only one allowed to kill Tommy here. Unfortunately, he shoves it right back in the moment Tommy is done dry heaving, and Tommy gets the absolutely hellish experience of having a puke-soaked rope in his mouth for, like, a while. I, really wish I didn't have to do that to you. I just don't trust you not to yell, Techno explains once they're settled back into the car. Awkward, and is that pity? Looks sent to Tommy's way in the rearview mirror. Tommy glares at him more. The rest of the ride is spent with the smell of vomit in his nose and the taste on his tongue. Tommy does take some joy in the fact that Techno has to suffer the smell of bile with him. He doesn't have a good grasp on time in the back seat of Techno's car, the sky remaining inky blue, stars hidden by the glaring beams of road lights. It takes way too long of Techno driving way too fast before they finally slow down, twists and turns eventually ending with the car starting to rattle as they pull off the paved road and onto a dirt one, where there are no more street lights to light the car. Tommy figures it must be a driveway, but then Techno makes a few more turns, and Tommy honestly doesn't know where they are. Techno parks the car and gets out, leaving it running, which, weird. Is he trying to kill Tommy with carbon monoxide? No, you need to be inside for that to work, and the car is still sitting out. Techno climbs back into the car after just a few moments and pulls them into a garage before parking again and turning the car off. No carbon monoxide then. Damn, Tommy feels like that would probably be a pretty chill way to go. The door by Tommy's head opens, and he squints up at Techno, who looks down at him before shaking his head and closing the door again. Instead, he walks around the car and opens another door, grabbing a bag that Tommy didn't notice, and closing the car up again. Is he really gonna unpack the car before getting his murder victim out? Fucking rude as hell, man. Maybe he's about to get killed, but at least do him the dignity of getting him out of the car before the other shit. Although that bag probably has his murder supplies. Whatever those were. A tarp, obviously. Maybe a drill? Who knows what else? Not Tommy. Tubbo's the crime fanatic. Tubbo would probably be way more prepared for this than Tommy is. But yeah, he's probably unpacking all his murder supplies so he can kill Tommy. Why his foster parents could die at home and Tommy couldn't is anyone's guess. The car shakes as the trunk slams. Tommy hadn't even noticed it opening. Maybe he really is tired. His door opens again. Techno looks down at him again, but this time he leans down and unties the rope keeping Tommy tied to the car. Tommy tries for a headbutt as Techno's face comes close, but the bastard just shoves him back with one of his stupid big hands. Relax, I don't want to fight you, Techno tells him. Tommy redoubles his thrashing and Techno just sighs again. You're gonna be a handful, aren't you? He asks. Tommy nods. He would fucking spit on him if he could. He imagines it, however, and is delighted by the mental image. Alright. Techno suddenly hoists Tommy over his shoulder, carrying him out of the garage. Tommy thinks it's a garage at least, not one of the fancy attached ones his fosters had, though. It seems like this one doesn't even have an automatic door. It's well and truly dark by this time of night, so Tommy can't see much of anything. If he turns his head, he can see the vague impression of trees hanging upside down on the horizon. It's also cold. Colder than a mid-autumn night should be. A dog is barking not too far away. Are they in the mountains? Tommy fucking hopes not. His town is more than an hour away from the mountains. Also, only weirdos live out in the mountains. Which actually would make sense. Techno is a fucking murderer. He's probably a forest hermit, too. Tommy gets only the warning of Techno stepping up onto a porch before he's suddenly in a house. Not a warm house, mind you, but warmer than outside. That's a bad thing, right? If there's only one thing Tommy remembers from Tubbo's true crime rants, it's this. Once you're in a killer's house, you don't usually get out alive. He starts screaming again. Bruh, Techno grunts. The whole world flips for a second, and then Tommy is laying on something soft. He thrashes as hard as he can, but Techno just holds him down with one hand on his chest until Tommy simply can't go anymore. Are you done? Techno asks. Tommy glares at him. If you're done, I'll take the gag out. Tommy nods. He doesn't want this gross-ass rope in his mouth anymore. Good. Tommy tenses as Techno reaches behind Tommy's head, but he just unties the knot there and pulls the gag out. Tommy smacks his lips, trying to get saliva back into his gross, dry mouth. There, isn't that Help! Tommy shrieks. Techno flinches and covers his ears. Help! I've been kidnapped! Help! He's gonna kill me! No one's gonna hear you out here, Techno says. Fuck you, Tommy snaps before going back to screaming. Techno just rolls his eyes and stands, walking off to some other part of the house. Tommy's voice breaks before he gets back. Apparently being strangled twice and gagged for hours hasn't done his throat any good. Done? Techno asks. He's standing next to the couch, because Tommy is tied up on a stupid couch again, with a glass of water. Tommy glares at him. At this rate, glares become his only facial expression. Fuck you, he rasps. Techno winces at the sound of his voice. Here, this will help. He presses the glass to Tommy's lips, but Tommy just turns his head away. I'm not stupid, he says. What, you think it's drugged? Why would I drug you? I can literally overpower you easily. Drugs are expensive. Murder seems expensive too, Tommy points out. Saves money in the long run, Techno tells him. Tommy doesn't see how it could. Tommy keeps refusing the water, so Techno sighs again and puts it on the coffee table before crossing the living room to a fireplace. Now that Tommy is looking around, he recognizes that he's in a cabin? A cozy little living room in a cabin that looks like it came out of an early 2000s period piece show, CRT television in the corner and everything. There's a homemade looking quilt draped over the back of the couch, a coffee table with a few mugs scattered across it, an armchair with a knit throw blanket, some picture frames, and weird pig themed knickknacks on the mantel. Overall, it looks like the cabin of some empty nesting mom, not a killer. Is this actually Techno's house, or did he just break in? He seems far too comfortable in the cabin for it to be a break in. Techno is fiddling with the fireplace, making a satisfied sound as he finds something to his liking. Tommy watches as he starts doing shit, piling little sticks and shit from a tin in the fireplace, blowing on it until a flame flickers up from nowhere. How'd you do that? He asked. Techno glances back at him. Banked it earlier to save the embers. Makes it easier to start up later, he says simply. Tommy doesn't know what that means, but it does seem to mean that Techno at least lives here, even if it's not his. Do you not have, real heating out here? He asks. I do, Techno says. I just prefer the fireplace. Weird champ, Tommy says. What? Weird champ, Tommy repeats without elaboration. Techno squints at him before shaking his head. The oxygen deprivation is getting to you, he says, coming over and picking up the water glass again. Last thing you need is to add dehydration on top of that. Drink. Tommy crosses his eyes to try to look at the glass pressed against his lips. He wonders if it's worth it. Does he really want to be awake for his brutal murder? Not really, no. He sips carefully, pulling away to slosh the water around in his mouth and get rid of the bile taste before coming back for more. He manages to down about half the glass before stopping. That's better, Techno says. You're probably hungry. I still have some broth left in the freezer. How does soup sound? Like shit, Tommy tells him. You have something else you want? Techno asks. Tommy pauses. McDonald's. No. Please? There isn't a McDonald's for miles, and McDonald's is literal garbage. I wouldn't feed it to my dogs, Techno says. Tommy groans loudly. You remind me of one of my old fosters, he tells Techno. She was all health food and shit. She made me eat vegan. Well, I'm not going to make you eat vegan, Techno says. He walks away again, and at this point Tommy realizes that he can sit up and look over the back of the couch. He can see Techno just fine from here, since the cabin seems to have an open floor plan other than 3 doors behind Techno, which Tommy assumes are a bathroom, bedroom, and maybe a laundry room? Tommy's actually not sure what the last room is. With his luck, it's a torture chamber or something. Tommy fucking hates open floor plans. Nowhere to hide. Next to the living room that Tommy's tied up in, there's an entryway with a big rug, a shoe rack, and a cabinet that looks big enough to stand in to hide, but that would make it really obvious that he's trying to hide, which Tommy knows from experience most people don't like at all. Right behind the couch is a little dining area set up with a table and 3 chairs. Why 3? Do other people live here? Are they just as crazy as Technoblade? Plus a window that might be big enough to crawl out of if it can be opened, which Tommy notes. Then there's the kitchen, right next to the dining area, which at least is blocked off by a counter between it and the entryway, so if Tommy sat on the floor in there, he wouldn't be visible from the entryway or living room, and might be able to pass it off as just wanting to sit there while he drinks water or whatever, rather than hiding. That's usually the kind of thing he does when he's trying not to attract foster parent attention. The living room he's in now might have the best casual looking hiding spots. For instance, the couch he's sitting on right now, which is turned away from the majority of the house. So if Tommy just slouches down, he's not visible from the back rooms or the kitchen or dining area. If he twists around, he can also see a big bay window in the wall behind him. It doesn't look like the kind of window that opens, but Tommy might be able to break it if it comes to that. He turns his attention back to Techno and watches him pull at what looks like ice cube trays out of the freezer and plinks a few big cubes into a pot which he puts on the stove. It's not all exciting to watch Techno cook. He just chops up some boring veggies like potato and celery and throws them in the soup, along with some cubed meat that he pulls out of the fridge. I don't like soup, Tommy tells him. Techno just grunts. Maybe Tommy shouldn't be antagonizing the literal murderer. Techno turns away from the stove, his face becoming visible again. The same calm and flat expression he has worn since Tommy made his acquaintance. Oh fuck, he's coming back. Tommy curls up so none of his important organs are accessible. The guy has only strangled him up until now, but there was blood on the tarp, so maybe he likes to stab too. Tommy doesn't want to be stabbed anywhere important. Techno just sits on the other end of the couch and bounces his leg, mostly just looking at the fire, but occasionally glancing at Tommy. So, you do anything interesting in school today? He asks. Tommy would laugh at this awkwardness if he wasn't so confused. I failed a math test, he says. God, he wishes he could go back to that being his biggest problem. Oh, Techno says. Yeah, math is hard. I preferred literature. Tommy nods. There's a big bookshelf full of fuck-off thick books by the fireplace, so Tommy can see that. Neat, he says. They lapse into silence again. Do you have a favorite subject? Techno asks. Tommy shrugs. I don't know. History's pretty pog, I guess. Depends on the teacher, though. Oh? Yeah, like there's a whole bunch of cool stories and also a bunch of historical people who were totally batshit, you know? But like some teachers are like trying to teach it as lame as possible. You've got to get a good teacher, then it's a good class. Techno nods along like Tommy is imparting great wisdom. Which he is, thank you. I agree, he says. I'm a fan of ancient history. What about you? I'm more into, like, modern stuff. Like 100 years ago. 'Cause we know more about what people were like then. And, like, that's important to me. Techno nods and lets Tommy go on one of his long, rambling rants about some historical dickhead and their weird shit. Which is nice. He normally annoys people like that. A lot of his teachers say he's focusing on the wrong shit. Tommy disagrees, obviously. So the founder specifically tells his buddy not to take his horse, right? But the friend is like, nah, it's fine, he'll never even know, and borrows it, but then gets in an accident, and the horse kicks the bucket. So obviously the founder is pissed, and his friend thinks it's fine, and they have this fight, and they literally establish a court system just for this horse situation. That was the first court case in SMP. So the friend, instead of just like saying that it was an accident, he argues that he just likes killing animals and he should get a pass because. Wait a minute, Techno says, interrupting for the first time after allowing Tommy to rant for God knows how long. He gets up and goes to the kitchen again. Tommy watches as he pours the soup into 2 bowls. Tommy is a little suspicious of soup as a whole, given how easy it is to hide drugs in, but he did already make the executive decision to not make a big deal out of getting drugged, so he doesn't bring it up. Alright, he comes back and sets them on the table, looks at Tommy, then at the bowls, then at Tommy again. I don't trust you not to do something if I untie you, Techno tells him. Tommy groans again. Bullshit, he says. I have been totally perfect this whole time. You screamed the minute I took the gag off, Techno points out. Well, what the hell do you expect? This is a kidnapping. Yeah, and I'd expect that if I untie you, you'll try to fight, he shrugs. So you made me food I don't get to eat, Tommy asks. No, well, he pauses and looks like he's thinking for a moment before shaking his head. No. He walks over to the little dining area and pulls one of the chairs over to the couch. I'll just feed you, Techno says, taking one of the bowls into his lap. Tommy considers rejecting the offer, telling the guy to just fuck off. But he skipped lunch today, and so he hasn't had anything to eat since the granola bar he had for breakfast. And sure, he'd gone longer without food at Dreams, but he's just gotten back on a more regular eating schedule. And the soup smells really fucking good, even though there's vegetables and shit floating around in it. I hate you, he tells Techno before allowing himself to be fucking spoon-fed. He should honestly probably be grateful that he's getting it last meal at all, even if he's tied up for it. Hey, he asks between bites, why are you doing this? Feeding you? Techno asks, feeding him another bite. Tommy nods. 'Cause I can't untie you and let you starve, so... I mean, you could let me starve since you're just gonna kill me anyways. Techno shakes his head. I'm not gonna kill you, he says. I don't hurt kids. So you're just gonna keep me until I turn 18, or... He hopes not. That would be like almost 3 years, and Tommy doesn't think he can handle 3 years of living with the kind of person who doesn't eat McDonald's or owns a CRT TV. Better just kill him now so he doesn't have to die of boredom. I don't know, Techno says. You don't know? Techno shakes his head. You kidnapped me and you don't know what you're gonna do with me? Hey, it's not my fault. I didn't know they fostered. That seems like your fault. Should have been paying more attention. Well, I've been busy over the last few days. Too busy to check on your murder victims to see if they got a kid with them? Techno sighs deeply. In my defense, he says, most people don't suddenly acquire children. I don't know, man. A ton of the adults I know acquire children pretty suddenly, Tommy defends. You understand that you have a very skewed sample, right? Techno asks. Nope, I failed my math test on statistics. I don't know shit about sample sizes. You've got a shit memory, you know that? Tommy grins as he says this. Techno just sighs and puts Tommy's now empty bowl of soup down. So, he starts as Techno picks up his own, probably cold soup. Are you gonna keep me tied up the whole time, or... If you're good tonight, I'll think about untying you tomorrow, Techno tells him. Why do I have to be good? You're the one who did some shit planning and kidnapped me. You walked in on a murder. I'm not giving you the opportunity to do anything stupid, Techno says. Not my fault, Tommy says, wiggling a bit so he can curl up on his side. Not like I knew you were gonna be killing my foster family today. I'm sorry about that, Techno says. I clearly should have sent you my itinerary. Fuck yeah, you should have, Tommy says. Techno lets Tommy have the last word there, returning to eating his soup in peace. Tommy wishes he hadn't. Without the stimulation from Techno's conversation, it's easy to feel sleepy, despite the fact that he's literally in a murderer's creepy fucking cabin in the woods. Techno probably drugged the soup. It doesn't feel like when Dream used to drug Tommy, but hey, maybe it's different drugs. He stares at the fire, determined to not fucking fall asleep. Determination is still strong, even as his blinks become slower and longer.